Hi, it's Catherine, and in honor of Mother's Day, I'm going solo this week to cover some perspectives from small business owners who are also mothers. This is a slightly different format for us, so do tell us what you think about it in the reviews and comments. So, what I found with the mothers that we've interviewed on the podcast is that they make family part of their mission. Their businesses are not run separately, but they're fully integrated into their lives and their family lives. I think that this runs counter to some beliefs that women have to choose between family and ambition, but these women prove that that doesn't have to be the case. And for many of these women, and it's not just mothers, we've had fathers and others describe family as their why behind starting their business too, but it is Mother's Day, so we're going to focus on the moms. But their reason for starting a business is explicitly to get time back to spend more time with their family. So let's hear from Emma, who sums this up pretty well.
I had to make a choice between taking care of my kids or going crazy doing a regular 9 to 5 job. My only solution was to start my own business.
That's a pretty common sentiment and theme. You don't get time back and you don't get that time back with your kids, so it's important to them. Of course, running a small business is no smaller deal. And I don't think that anyone who actually has run a business or started one would say that it's exactly, not time consuming, right? At NAV, we often meet business owners who actually work more hours, probably significantly more hours than a 9 to 5, but would just rather work 24/7 for themselves than for someone else. And it might be also that a business gives different kind of freedom, right? It gives freedom of location or freedom to not have to respond to your boss during certain hours. There's also a comparative bar for flexibility, particularly people who maybe come from corporate backgrounds. So Tanya shared that she comes from the tech industry, which is notoriously demanding, particularly if you're based in the San Francisco Bay Area like she is. And so she wanted to get out of that, and that's why she started her real estate business.
I come from the high-tech industry. There are a lot of demands in that industry, 7 o'clock in the morning, sometimes until 7 o'clock at night. And so I thought, what can I do to spend more time with my kids and still have an impact in society in some way? And so I thought, real estate would be a great opportunity to spend time with the kids and also give back, helping individuals and business owners build wealth through real estate investments, whether it's an individual residential purchase, commercial purchase, or in investing in multiple properties.
So for her, real estate was a great way to exit. And she talks a lot in her episode about finding her wedge and where she fit into the ecosystem.
My business is mostly referral based. In the beginning, I would say the first couple of years, I had to work really hard trying to figure it out. In a real estate office, and we door knocked one weekend. I said, I can't do this. This is not going to work for me. One weekend we did cold calling. I said, no, I'm not going to do this. I only did it twice. And so I decided early on that the referral network would be my best avenue into being successful as a real estate agent and broker now. For 6 months, I did, just trying to figure it out. And I had a binder with all of these notes and information that I had learned from class and things that people had told me that made them successful. So I was studying. I was just studying everything every day for 6 months. And then after that, I found my why in the business, my place in the business. And I knew I loved sales, that was my area of expertise and what I enjoyed the most.
And talking to her about that, it did take quite a lot of time and effort. And for all of the romanticizing that we do about starting a business, particularly on the internet, I'm sure we've all seen the get rich quick, make $1 million in 2 months spiel. It really is hard work. And you do have to earn your way into freedom. So Christine, who owns a window washing business, talks about this.
There's a light at the end of the tunnel, and that tunnel is just not going to be too long. I think that it's going to be, within the next, hopefully, 5 to 10 years. And we'll have some freedom and flexibility to do whatever we want. I want to be able to pick up and go on vacation with my kids and pull out my laptop if I have to. But I just want the flexibility and the freedom to do my own thing.
She also talks a lot in her episode about the systems that she's put in place to delegate.
My saying with my company is simplify, systemize, succeed. So like if I'm going to create a system, I'm going to make it a simpler system. I find that business owners are so busy and frazzled and just trying to get through the day and putting out fires. And even when they systemize something, it's never documented and scalable. So I'm documenting all of our systems and then sharing them on my platform. I have a website called theprocessceo.com. And there I have like some free resources, my client avatar form, my employee avatar form. So we're still continuing to systemize. But the less time we spend putting out fires, the more time we can spend on the growth strategy.
So you can't scale to a point where you are making enough money to support freedom of choice and freedom of movement and freedom of money without an element of delegation. After all, if you're working in the business, then you're not really creating that time freedom, which is what we've been talking about as kind of their incentive and their reason for starting a business. So parents who value family don't just have businesses to spend more time with their family, but there's also an element of wealth building and leaving a legacy as well. Starting a business is still one of the most effective ways to build wealth in America. And it's really core to the American dream, isn't it? You know, there's buying a home and there's owning a business. Those are two core tenets of the American dream. And Terri talks about this as one of her whys to make sure that her sons are cared for.
Something happens to me, my boys have nobody. Right? I grind with a certain purpose within my mind because I was in foster care. That's so important to me that if anything happens to me, that they're taken care of.
Ownership is important. It's how you provide for yourself and it's how you can make an impact, especially, you know, in our society, right? There's a lot of power in this, which Marty recognizes and embodies. She started her business because she wanted to see more representation for people like her daughter.
Ella Olivia was birthed from this space of, I want my daughter to be seen. I remember going into Target and I was looking for a character that looked like my daughter, and I didn't see it. And when I left Target that day, out of frustration and necessity, I said, I'm going to go create a character brand that my daughter gets to see herself through. I want her to see what's possible. I want a character that talks about her future and the possibilities of dreaming big. And I want her to be equipped with the tools of advocacy and representation that she will need to be successful in her life.
One of the common threads with all of the mothers that we've interviewed is this desire to have a positive impact to the act of starting and running a business. It's really easy to kind of have this blanket sense of, oh, mothers are great business owners, go moms, but women and mothers are a lot more than kind of empty, vague notions of girl power. And I think that Bethany sums this tension up very nicely.
I have a 5 and a 3-year-old now, and raising my business along with my babies is both challenging and rewarding at the same time, because I find that there's so many things about my business that are very similar to raising kids. And I think it's so important for moms to have something that makes us feel like ourselves apart from motherhood. Like we were whole people before we had those kids. We had dreams and ambitions and things that we wanted to do. And when we had kids, it doesn't mean that now all of a sudden we have to sacrifice all of those things in order to be a good mom. In fact, I just took a really great parenting course on Masterclass. And one of the things that they said that was the best advice and so validating for me was that there's this thing that moms think that if we're martyrs for our children, in the sense of like, we have to sacrifice everything about ourselves. We have to sacrifice our dreams and our ambitions and our bodies and our time and all of that. If we have to sacrifice all those things in order to be a good mother, then what signal is that telling our children? It's telling them that they're the only reason for our purpose and happiness and joy. And that's a lot of pressure for our kids. So in actuality, me having a small business is not only good for my kids because I get so much fulfillment from my small business that I don't have to rely on them to bring me all of the joy in my life. And on top of that, it also shows my children 2 different things. So I have a son and a daughter, and it shows my son that women deserve to go after what they want. Women deserve to have ambition apart from motherhood.
I find this so empowering, the idea that being a mom, being a parent doesn't have to be limiting. And in fact, it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be by design. Through all of these women, we can see that children are actually quite enriching and adding new dimensions to their experiences. You can imagine, would Marty have started her business without seeing the gap that she found that day at Target when she was shopping for her daughter and couldn't find anything that represented her? Would Tanya have helped so many people build wealth through real estate investments without having decided to take a step back from tech so that she could spend more time with her family? Would Terri find a unique sense of purpose and drive in her business without the desire to leave her children better off? And think of how many people that she's helped through her business because of that. What I don't want is for this episode to be some kind of empty message of empowerment that, women can do it too, and moms can do it too, and we can have it all, but really to show that the texture of our communities are changed and are richer because mothers are empowered to build businesses and to bring their perspectives to the things that they build. This is really important. So happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there, and especially the business owners, but only because you are all uniquely near and dear to our hearts. We celebrate you and we thank you today and every day.
Thank you to our guests for sharing their story, and thank you for listening today. Keep in mind that every small business is unique and there is no such thing as one-size-fits-all advice, so only take what you find helpful. We look forward to next time.